This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
Dear listeners, now we start the English language service of Voice of Korea from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Now here's mixed chorus, song of General Kim Il-sung. Now here's Male Chorus, Song of General Kim Jong-il. You're listening to VOK, the Voice of Korea, News Now. The 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea took place at the Mansudae Assembly Hall in the capital city of Pyongyang on January the 15th. The session was convened at an important time when all the people in the country courageously launched an offensive to carry forward the victory and glory of last year, full of great struggle and proud successes, more brilliantly and vigorously to this year, when the victory in attaining the goal set by the 8th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea should be confirmed. Present there were deputies to the Supreme People's Assembly. Attending it as observers were officials concerned in the capital and local areas, including those of the Party Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly, the Cabinet, ministries, national institutions, and armed forces organs. Its platform was taken by presidium members of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, Kim Do-kun, Choi Ryong-hae, and Lee Byung-seol, and other senior officials of the party, the government, and the military, the chairman and vice chairman of the Supreme People's Assembly, members of the State Affairs Commission, and the vice chairperson, the Secretary General, and members of the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly. Park In-cheol, chairman of the Supreme People's Assembly, made an opening address. The national anthem of the DPRK was played when the session was declared open. The 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK brought out the following agenda items. First, on the fulfillment of the state budget of the DPRK for Juche 112 or 2023, and the state budget for Juche 114 or 2024. Second, on abolishing the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of the Country of the DPRK the National Economic Cooperation Bureau, and the Kumgangsan International Tourism Administration. Kim Jong-un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea and President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, appeared on the platform to clarify the policy of the government of the DPRK. All the participants broke into thunderous cheers of hurrah, looking up to him, the supreme representative of the dignity of our party, state and people, who is dynamically ushering in a new era of overall prosperity of the country, powerful with independence in politics, self-support in the economy, and self-reliance in national defense, while guiding the historic struggle for building a rich country with strong army, our noble idea and our sacred cause, always along the road of victory. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un made an important policy speech on the immediate tasks for the prosperity and development of our republic and the promotion of the well-being of our people. He expressed deep thanks to the deputies who had worked hard to fulfill their duty with loyalty to the sacred cause of the party and the state and the spirit of devoted service to the people. And he put forward in an overall way the main agenda of the session, discussing the New Year state affairs, the important tasks facing the DPRK government in bringing in a multi-stage, three-dimensional and offensive way great changes for the comprehensive development of socialist construction and the principled issues to be maintained in carrying them out. The supreme task of the Workers' Party of Korea and the DPRK government, which set forth the promotion of the people's well-being as the supreme principle of state activities, is to improve the people's living as early as possible, he said, declaring the new regional industry development policy for a great revolution in eliminating the centuries-old backwardness of localities and realizing the long-cherished desire of the regional people, and important measures for its implementation. He sternly analyzed and estimated the security environment of the DPRK, which turned into the most dangerous zone with risk of war outbreak in the world, and the danger of the confrontation racket by the U.S. imperialists and their followers, and clarify the orientation of struggle against the enemy and the militant tasks to be carried out most thoroughly and uncompromisingly. His speech clarified the political issues for adhering to the principle of defending the national sovereignty and interests in external affairs, in keeping with the dignity and prestige of the DPRK, which adopted anti-imperialist independence as its first state policy, immutable and consistent. All the participants listened in great excitement to the speech of Kim Jong-un, who set the basic guidelines for building a powerful country as a solid pillar, clearly looking forward to the future of accomplishing the socialist cause. His historic policy speech, full of great sense of mission and confidence in sheer victory, is a militant banner and an immortal great revolutionary program that enables our party, state and people to bravely overcome manifold difficulties and crises with their heroic dignity and indomitable stamina, and further accelerate the victorious advance toward a powerful country. The session discussed the fulfillment of last year's state budget and the draft state budget for the new year as the first agenda item. The report was made by Deputy Ko Jong-bom, Minister of Finance. Then speeches were made by Deputies Park Jong-gun, Chun Hak-chol, Lee Yong-chol, Han Nam-chol, and Kim Myong-chol. Speakers expressed full support for the report submitted to the session, noting that last year's implementation of the state budget was correctly reviewed and settled, and the new year's state budget has been formed on the principle of financially supporting the struggle to secure a clear practical guarantee for the fulfillment of the 5-year plan in the spirit of the 9th plenary meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. They analyzed and reviewed in detail the successes, experience, and shortcomings made in their sectors and units last year, and proposed measures to settle the knotty problems arising in reality, in conformity with the changed circumstances and situation, and ensure the smooth promotion of the long-term development. They expressed their determination to fully display the responsibility and activeness in this year's struggle of great significance in the successful implementation of the program of the Workers' Party of Korea, and thus guarantee the steady development of socialist construction with courageous and substantial practices. The session adopted with unanimous approval a decision of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK on approving the fulfillment of the DPRK state budget for Juche 112 or 2023 and an ordinance of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK on the DPRK state budget for Juche 113 or 2024. The session discussed the issue of abolishing the mechanisms in charge of affairs with the South as the second agenda item. Deputy Meng Kyung-il, Vice Chairman of the Supreme People's Assembly, proposed a draft decision of the Supreme People's Assembly that stipulates the validity and legality of the immediate abolition of the mechanisms which had existed for North-South dialogue, negotiation, and cooperation. The session unanimously approved the decision of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK on abolishing the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of the Country of the DPRK, the National Economic Cooperation Bureau, and the Kumgangsan International Tourism Administration. Park In-cheol, Chairman of the Supreme People's Assembly, made a closing address. The 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly successfully concluded its work amid the extraordinary political enthusiasm of the participants to fulfill their responsibility and duty as representatives of the people and masters of the state affairs in the van of the decisive struggle to firmly guarantee the dignity, sovereignty, and independent development of the DPRK and its people, and elevate and expand the epochal phase for national prosperity. Kim Jong-un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea and President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, made an important policy speech on the immediate tasks for the prosperity and development of our republic and the promotion of the well-being of our people at the 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK on January the 15th. He expressed deep thanks to the deputies who had worked hard to fulfill their duty with loyalty to the sacred cause of the party and the state and the spirit of devoted service to the people. And he put forward in an overall way the main agenda of the session discussing the New Year's state affairs, the important tasks facing the DPRK government in bringing in a multi-stage, three-dimensional and offensive way great changes for the comprehensive development of socialist construction and the principled issues to be maintained in carrying them out. The supreme task of the Workers' Party of Korea and the DPRK government, which set forth the promotion of the people's well-being as the supreme principle of state activities, is to improve the people's living as early as possible, he said, declaring the new regional industry development policy for a great revolution in eliminating the centuries-old backwardness of localities and realizing the long-cherished desire of the regional people, and important measures for its implementation. He sternly analyzed and estimated the security environment of the DPRK, which turned into the most dangerous zone with risk of war outbreak in the world, and the danger of the confrontation racket by the U.S. imperialists and their followers, and clarify the orientation of struggle against the enemy and the militant tasks to be carried out most thoroughly and uncompromisingly. His speech clarified the political issues for adhering to the principle of defending the national sovereignty and interests in external affairs, in keeping with the dignity and prestige of the DPRK, which adopted anti-imperialist independence as its first state policy, immutable and consistent. The 10th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea made a report on state budget on the results of the implementation of the state budget of the DPRK for 112 or 2023 and the state budget for 113 or 2024. The report said, the entire people waged a vigorous struggle to bring about a substantial change in the economic work and the solution of the issue of the people's living by successfully attaining the immediate goals under the 5-year plan for national economic development presented at the 8th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea, despite the unfavorable subjective and objective conditions of the Korean Revolution due to the reckless military adventures and reactionary offensives of the U.S. imperialists and other hostile forces. As a result, the state budget for 112 or 2023 was implemented with success. It is a result of the wise leadership of our great party and the result of the dynamic struggle of the entire people across the country firmly united behind the party that remarkable successes were made in strengthening the nuclear war deterrence, precious creations made in the whole of the national economy, and the state budget successfully implemented last year, even in the circumstances with extreme moves of the reactionaries to lay an obstacle to our advance. The state budget for this year has been compiled to provide a financial guarantee to the struggle for promoting stable and sustainable development and bringing about a substantial change in the people's living by concentrating investment on major fields of the national economy, the mainstay of the independent economy, while constantly updating the military potentiality of the armed forces of the DPRK, and for developing all fields including science, education, public health and culture extensively. The report expressed the will to back the strengthening of the defense capability of the country and the socialist economic construction financially by implementing the state budget as planned, with a confidence that another victory is expected in this year's struggle for implementing the decisions of the 9th plenary meeting of the 8th Party Central Committee, as long as there are the outstanding and seasoned leadership of the great Workers' Party of Korea and the people of a powerful country single-mindedly united around the party. The Supreme People's Assembly of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea issued decision number 13 on abolishing the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of the country, the Department for Economic Cooperation of the nation, and the Kumgangsan International Tourist Bureau of the DPRK on January the 15th. The decision said the most hostile two states and two warring countries are in acute confrontation with each other on the Korean peninsula today, and continued, reunification can no longer be achieved with the Republic of Korea, which has set unification through absorption and institutional unification as its state policy for nearly 80 years, which are faithfully contrary to our line of national reunification based on one nation, one state, and two systems. It is seriously anachronistic to regard the Republic of Korea as the partner of reconciliation and reunification, which declared us principal enemy, constantly creates an uncontrollable crisis on the Korean peninsula in league with outside forces, and watches for a chance of collapse of regime and unification through absorption. Recognizing the stark historic reality and branding the Republic of Korea as the state most hostile to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK shall abolish the Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of the country, the Department for Economic Cooperation of the nation, and the Kumgangsan International Tourist Bureau, the organizations for inter-Korean dialogue, negotiations, and cooperation, the decision noted. The government delegation of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on an official visit to the Russian Federation laid a wreath at the tomb of unknown soldiers by the Kremlin castle wall on the 15th. Present on the occasion were the members of the government delegation of the DPRK, led by Foreign Minister Choi Son-hee, and officials of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including Vice Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko. a wreath was placed at the tomb in the name of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the DPRK. The visitors observed the moment silence in memory of the soldiers who fell in the sacred war for annihilating fascism. Meanwhile, the members of the government delegation of the DPRK called at different places of the Chadiajiye Park on the same day. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un sends press to Im Chang-yong, living in Songtae-ri, Taechon County of North Pyongan Province, and Shin Sung-hee in Gwosan County of Gangwon Province, on the occasion of their centenary birthdays. The Farm Machine Exhibition Development of Farm Machine Industry 2023 is underway at the Three Revolution Exhibition House in Pyongyang every day. The exhibition was aimed at materializing the grand plan of the Workers' Party of Korea at an early date to cover the rural communities across the country with homemade modern farm machines and present a new scene of the socialist countryside in which the agricultural workers merrily do farming with machines and furthermore bring about the proud result of solving the food problem. Displayed in the two-story indoor exhibition hall and outdoor exhibition area were hundreds of kinds of highly efficient farm machines, including tractors, rice seedling transplanters, unmanned copter for farming, wheat and barley seeders, and mobile combined maize thresher. And that's the end of the news, read by Che Jong-nam. This is VOK, the voice of Korea. Now here's female chorus, our comrade Kim Jong-un.
Now here is guitar solo. We have waited for you. now bring you the song We Call Him Father. The bosom so warm that we ran into, it is so wide and deep as the sea. The love is affection thicker than blood, we have known it in happiness. Attracted to his affection, we call him Father without reserve. We live only under his care, O Comrade Kim Jong-un.
Now here is trumpet solo, The Blue Sky Over My Country.
regarding it as the eternal strategic line to attach importance to youth. The great leader Kim Jong-il developed the Korean youth movement pioneered by the great leader Kim Il-sung onto a new, higher stage, and his idea on attaching importance to the youth is still shining in the history of the Korean youth movement. He regarded it as the eternal strategic line of the Workers' Party of Korea to attach importance to the youth and directed big efforts to the work with the young people. On October 1st, 1960 or 1971, he said the young people are successors to the revolution and masters of the future, and added that how to train them is a very important issue concerning the prospect of the Korean Revolution and the future destiny of the Korean nation. Afterwards, too, he indicated tasks and ways to develop the youth movement of Korea onto a new high stage in his famous works, including "Let us train the youth thoroughly into the reliable successors to the revolutionary cause of Juche. Let us develop our youth movement to a new higher level," and on directing efforts to the work with the young people. And he handed over a torch of revolution representing his trust and expectation to the young people on October 10th, 1984 or 1995, hoping that they would carry forward the revolutionary cause of Juche to completion generation after generation. He was pleased to learn about the feats performed by young people more than anybody else, and named monumental creations built by them after youth. Typical of them is the Youth Hero motorway completed in Juche 89 or 2000. Kim Jong-il gave young people a huge task of building the motorway from Pyongyang to Nampo in Juche 87 or 1998, when the country was undergoing hardships and trials unprecedented in history. Elated by his deep trust, the young people finished filling more than 14 million cubic meters of earth, building a number of bridges and structures, and paving millions of square meters of roads in nearly 700 days, and thus completed a motorway. Kim Jong-il highly praised the young people for their feats and named it the Youth Hero Motorway. He said, "People should not look at the motorway casually. This motorway is permeated with the precious blood and sweat of our young people who fought with the indomitable will for prosperity of the country and happiness of the people. The country and people will never forget their merits." Whenever difficult and huge tasks were raised in the revolution and construction, Kim Jong-il gave them to the young people so that they could demonstrate the mettle of the Korean youth. In the last period of his great life, he said, "I'm going to build a good monument to youth. These days I think a lot about where to build it. All our people will support my intention." Under his loving care, the Korean young people could write a brilliant history of the Korean youth movement. So far you've been listening to an account titled "Regarding It as the Eternal Strategic Line to Attach Importance to Youth." This is Voice of Korea. Now here is the song "We Are Successors to Revolution," created in Juche 70 or 1981. Now we present the guitar solo. Youth cannot be bartered for gold.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Europe between 15 and 16 hours UTC, between 18 and 19 hours UTC, between 21 and 22 hours UTC, and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 7,570 kHz and 12,015 kHz. For North America, between 15 and 16 hours UTC and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 9,435 kHz and 11,710 kHz. And for Northeast Asia, between 4 and 5 hours UTC and between 6 and 7 hours UTC on 7,220 kHz, 9,445 kHz, and 9,730 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.